It has been frustrating, I will say. You definitely kind of have to jump through, I think, some additional hoops to kind of prove yourself a little bit. I think a lot of people like to generalize my generation as being very lazy, being kind of entitled, and so you kind of have to overcome some of those stereotypes and prove that you yourself are very motivated. So it has been tough, but I am happy to be able to kind of overcome some of those stereotypes very frequently.
You talked about being on both ends of the spectrum. Now, this is this is kind of a soapbox for me because I've been in Christian radio for quite some time. And when I was actually starting out, there are a number of, and I'll just use an example, and this may be relevant to what we're talking about. You have a number of people that were, for instance, popular in the Christian music genre at the time. And, as time progressed, perhaps the opportunities that they had to share their songs, although God was still inspiring them and using them, but it seems like that perhaps they became marginalized in favor of other artists. And I think that this could happen in a lot of different industries, that, maybe there's this perception that, well, when you reach a certain age level, well, God can't use you anymore. Is that something that you're seeing as well?
You do.
Because I certainly don't think that's true, obviously.
No, yeah, you do run into that into publishing too, and it breaks my heart whenever someone says, "Oh yeah, you are this age, so you can't write for this genre," because age is just a number. I think why we can have so much hope as Christian writers is we can look to the Bible and we can see people of all ages being called into unique callings, and so yes, I would say it definitely spans both ends of the spectrum. And so I always try to be encouraging to authors, if they are experiencing age discrimination, that there is no timeline like God's timeline, and it doesn't matter what everyone else's timeline is. His plan is going to work whether people want it to or not.
Hope Bolinger joining us today here on the Meeting House on Faith Radio. She is an author. She works in the publishing industry, also a faculty member at the Blue Lake Christian Writers Conference taking place in Andalusia. Well, Hope, as we wrap things up, you talk about the type of material that's coming across your desk. You are a managing and acquisitions editor for In-Game Press. Your specialty is fiction. That's actually a space in which you've done quite a bit of work. So what do you say makes a quality fiction book?
Oh, this is so good. Such a good question.
Thank you.
I think what makes a good fiction book is, first of all, it's very well written. You can tell the author has spent a lot of time on their craft. What we love to see is just really unique ideas that you're thinking, oh man, this would make a good movie. I wish I would have thought of this idea. But actually what it comes down to is also an author who has a teachable spirit and who is wonderful to work with, because we do work with books, but we also do work with authors. So that is something we're also looking for, is who is an author who is willing to adjust something if it needs to be adjusted, and we can tell reads and does the research in their specific genre.
Well, as we close, let's revert back to your, as you call it, if I'm not mistaken, Sweet Romance. Is that the series name?
So the Roseville Romance is the series name. It will be 4 books in that Sweet Romance series. Each will take place during a different season and will have a different fine arts, showing that Christians can use the gifts that they've given in the fine arts as well. So
Sweet Romance, it sounds like to me, is kind of a genre?
It's very similar to Hallmark type movies. So just very, very sweet romance, very low heat levels. You may have a kiss at the end, but it's more focused on the emotional relationship that happens between the characters.
So set that up for us, if you will, for your personal series.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first book follows the story of a picture book writer and an illustrator who are paired to create a picture book for a nonprofit to save it. But unfortunately, one of them is a procrastinator, so they're going to have to work against the deadline to make sure that they can save the nonprofit in time. So all the books feature 2 artists who are going to work together on some sort of project to save something or preserve something. So the next one is going to follow a worship leader and a pianist who are going to enter an indie music competition, and that is going to be Finding Harmony.